Back once again with Erika Brown of The Cricket, America's newspaper. We check in with Erika every week to find out all things happening in Manchester by the Sea and Essex. How are you, Erika?
I'm great.
Yeah. We're short-handed this week, no Heather, but that's okay.
Okay, I've been with just Heather too, so
Yeah,
it's good.
we'll
All good.
trudge on. So anyway, we were talking before we went on air. There's a ton going on, especially stemming from the town meeting.
Yeah, there's a ton. Actually, last time you asked me if anything was going on with the warrants on town meeting, it was like you were Nostradamus, because literally right after we spoke, everything started to happen.
Things are happening.
All
So
right,
what is happening?
I can start at the beginning. Which really preceded the BOS meeting of this past week. This past Wednesday, because of the holiday, they had the Board of Selectmen meeting in Manchester. A lot of stuff happened there, but even just before that, in sort of the run up to sort of the deadline for the articles, there were two submitted articles. They were petition articles, where you petition to have an article, citizens petitions they're called. And this came from the Citizens Initiative for Manchester Affordable Housing, SEMA. Now they have been around for about a year now. They put forward two articles that were stunning. One is, both of them are kind of slow growth, exclusionary oriented articles about development. Number one is an article to not allow any building permits over 50 per year. So, and sewer hookups, by the way. So a moratorium or just stopping, it'll change the town's bylaws. I think the zoning bylaws. I have to be careful about how I say these things because I don't know if it's a bylaw or regulation or whatever. Anyway, but it would change things where it would prohibit this. The second thing, though, is reanimating something that failed last spring at the annual town meeting. It was brought up by Tom Keogh. It was Article 14, if I remember correctly. And it was something that required, for any development over 50 units, you had to have not just an entry, but you had to have an exit. That didn't make it past because it wasn't supported by the BOS or the fire and safety and things like that. But they have reanimated it and added some detail to it. Number one, it had to be sort of an access road of 500 feet or more, requires a secondary egress, and then it also had to be paved. So why am I spending so much time on talking about it? Then why was I so stunned when I saw them? It's because we've been talking for you and I have been talking for a year about the Affordable Housing Trust. The Manchester Affordable Housing Trust and the Manchester Housing Authority for 2 years has been working with a consultant on redeveloping 4 properties in town. They're all affordable housing, the 3 of them, the Plains, Newport Park, Loading Place Road. You can probably say them with me at this point, right? There are 84 units that the Housing Authority and the Manchester Housing Authority, they run and manage. They're in desperate need of renovation. They don't have the money for them. And so they have come up with a really, what they think is a super solid plan to build, to renovate those units and then add units at the DPW site on Pleasant Street. So it's 84 units that'll be renovated on those 3 properties, and then we're adding across all 4 properties 90 more. Now, do you see where I'm going? Okay, 50 units, no more over 50 units. So SEMA will be essentially presenting 2 articles at town meeting and presumably getting voters to support them to come to town meeting. And they will be put in opposition to a non-binding referendum that is sponsored by the BOS itself, the Affordable Housing Trust, and the Manchester Housing Authority. And it'll be really interesting to see how that conversation takes place. But really, what's more important is, I think at the planning board meeting, the next planning board meeting, which I think is tonight, actually, Monday night, they're going to actually be approaching, I've heard that the SEMA is going to be approaching about those articles, the planning board. So that'll be our first opportunity to sort of hear from the horse's mouth, as it were, sort of the rationale for these articles and how they relate to the town's plan. So that's what's going on. And the BOS meeting really brought up, they didn't actually talk about those articles other than to say that they guarantee that they're going to be on because they're citizens articles. So there are 8 articles and they're looking to edit them because of COVID. Alan Wilson, the town moderator, was really concerned about size of a group meeting with COVID being what it is. So there are logistics around, the November 15th meeting, which are kind of a very complex series of if-then scenarios. If it's this, then we'll do that. If it's this, we'll do that. And they're thinking about everything from doing it outside under 14,000 square feet, I think he said, of tents. Is that even possible with heaters? Which is the football field, but that's November. And they're also thinking of doing it maybe off community, like in another spot, like at Gordon College or some other facility that can accommodate this many people. But they don't know, and I'm wondering if maybe they don't know if the governor's emergency mandate being lifted around COVID, the idea and the ability to be able to have a town meeting in another community was part of that. And they don't.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's been lifted.
Well, neither does Alan Wilson, and he's going to find out. He's going to find out before the next meeting, which is the 24th. The good news is they have 2 weeks to figure this all out. The town meeting warrant has to be voted on by the BOS by October 4th. That's when it's going to be finalized. So that's when they're going to really figure out where it's going to be, what it's going to be. One thing that they were going to do it at the Memorial School, the new spanky $52 million Memorial School here in Manchester, because it was designed for exactly that. But they can't because the construction of the parking lot will be going on. Parking lot's pretty complicated. They're doing a whole system underneath it, and there won't be any place to park. So,
yikes.
Lots going on.
There is a lot going on. Anything else you want to touch upon, Erika?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I think that we have some really interesting stuff that I'll just preview if it's okay.
Sure.
Which is Manchester and Essex got a grant together. Sue Brown kind of led it up with Matt Coogan, who was the planner back at the time, back when they applied. And it's been going on, and it's essentially a cooperative effort to look at opportunities to work together on going after grants to sort of help the towns become more vibrant, particularly the downtowns. So you have the Essex Merchants Group is involved with this, and the Manchester Merchants Group with planners, people from the planning group, and then the town administrator, Brendan Zabricki's on every single meeting. And there's some really creative ideas that I think are going to bode well for the future.
Very cool. Well, keep us up to date on that. Great work as always. We know you've been busy, and I'm sure this fall is going to be even busier for you. So we really appreciate your time.
I know, can't wait.
Right. Adios for now, Erika.
Bye.
This episode of Cape Ann Today is brought to you by Bank Gloucester. Start here, get there.